To complete this trilogy, the third of our speakers will be our very own Syed Nasim Manzur from Bangladesh. Mr. Manzur is, amongst many things, the founding director of Apex Footwear. So, ladies and gentlemen, Syed Nasim Manzur.
Thank you, Fred. Thank you. Thank you so much. Honorable Chief Advisor, honorable advisors, excellencies, distinguished guests, and most importantly, fellow members of the Bangladesh business community, President of ICC Bangladesh, Metropolitan Chamber, Dhaka Chamber, and our friends from abroad. Assalamu alaikum and good morning, sir. I am proud, privileged, and humbled to be able to present in front of you the local investor's perspective on Bangladesh. I work for a company called Apex. We are shoemakers, retailers. We work in the pharmaceutical space. But I'd like to start by doing the pop quiz that seems to be the style today. This morning, we were asked many, many things. And I think one of the things I would like to ask the audience is that what do you think a Qatar Airways pilot, a caregiver in Japan, Michael Kors handbags, golf clubs sold in Japan, and ocean-going vessels have in common? Any ideas? They're all born in Bangladesh. Thank you. This is what Bangladesh does. We create, we innovate, we find ways, as we heard from the CEO of Inditex. If nothing, we are creative. And the reason that we are here today, ladies and gentlemen, as the private sector of Bangladesh, proud to represent Bangladesh, is that number. It's not 165 million, it's not 170 million, it's not 175. It's the 114 million labor force of Bangladesh. This is the strength of Bangladesh. We talk about the three unspoken heroes, ladies and gentlemen. The farmer of Bangladesh, a tiny country half the size of Ohio, which feeds 170 million people. We talk about the migrant workers of Bangladesh sending back record amounts of remittance to Bangladesh, sustaining the consumption and the growth. And an area which is particularly close to my heart, the people who work on the shop floors of Bangladesh, making product from Bangladesh. For the wages that we are able to pay and that inshallah we will continue to raise, for the productivity that we get, for the quality that we deliver, for the obstacles that we overcome, there are very few countries in the world that has this quality of workforce. One of the things I never like to say, and I think we would like to consciously avoid, is the word cheap labor. I think it's demeaning to our labor. Our labor is not cheap. We have low-cost competitive labor that is some of the finest in the world. And you can ask any investor in Bangladesh. We have some of the most productive factories in manufacturing groups in Bangladesh. I'll name one, Coats. Coats is one of the largest thread manufacturing groups in the world. You'll be happy to know that their highest productivity factory is actually in Bangladesh. So there are many, many examples with the right management where this can be done. Now, the private sector that I represent, 76% of the total investment comes from the private sector. And what we have done is we have created markets, we've disrupted industries, we are born to export as RMG, as leather footwear where I work. We are agile and brave, and we are globally connected. And examples of this are just a few that I would like to now especially highlight to our friends maybe who are visiting Bangladesh for the first time. These local companies that have created industries. And let me tell you what would have been in that slide when that slide comes back. We talk about companies like Kollol. In the late 1970s, they decided that there is a market here for facial tissue, and everybody laughed at this company and said, facial tissue? And they went to the United Kingdom and then licensed Fay tissues. And today, facial tissue is a multi-million-dollar industry in Bangladesh. We're talking about companies like Square Pharma, which today not only manufactures FDA-certified grade pharmaceutical in Bangladesh, but actually has a plant in Kenya serving the African continent. We're talking about a company like Akij Bashir, which, by the way, is making European quality glass, but is also 51%, according to the website, solar. So we do things differently. You talk about a company, and this has now become iconic, Partex, which is actually, sorry, can you please go back to the previous slide? Okay, thank you. We talk about Partex. Partex is actually now a word in Bangladesh. We used to make furniture, thank you so much. We used to make furniture only with solid wood. Now you have part export. You talk about, I love this one. I don't know if you know this logo. It's Amanat Shah Lungi, the little flower on the side. Amanat Shah Lungi is a third generation lungi producer, which is now a vertically integrated textile producer. Why can't we have an international lungi brand? A lot of people wear lungis, look around. So I think there's a lot of stories here that need to be told. We talk about Arong. Arong is one of the few social businesses in Bangladesh, and Sir, of course, wrote the book on this, where basically they employ the rural artisans and they bring that to market at a speed and at a pace that nobody else can match. They just built the world's largest craft store in the Hanmundi. For those of you visiting, go take a look. 60,000 square feet of beautifully handcrafted Bangladesh. We talk about Pran. You can go from Africa, I think, to Antarctica, and you can go anywhere. And our version of Pran, of the famous patata chips, is everywhere. So Bangladeshi companies scale, Bangladeshi companies can compete. And of course, last but not least, we do have BGMEA. Putting Bangladesh garments on the map, made in Bangladesh, the label check that we heard about. ACI, the last example that I will give. ACI aerosol, we all grew up with that. Unfortunately, mosquitoes is part of life also in Bangladesh, but it's also an opportunity. This was a brand that was built in Bangladesh, then acquired by a US company. They came and they bought the brand. So Bangladesh is building brands not only for us, but for local investors. Now, Bengalis, traditionally, we have had this rep of being the babus. For those of you who don't know what a babu is, we tend to be not risk takers, we're risk averse, we like the nice government job, we like to have the 9 to 5, we're not the greatest entrepreneurs. That was the old Bengali. But look what the Bangladeshi Jadoo has done. We have gone in and we have found markets because we see opportunity to create, to disrupt, to find new ways to lead. We can scale. Bangladesh is one of the few markets where you can scale. You can test something and then you can roll it out to 20 million households. Talk to the people in Telenor, they will tell you. Ability. I think the ability to learn and to grow, not only just at the shop floor level, at the managerial level, entrepreneur, unbelievable. Very, very steep learning curve. And most important, a sense of responsibility. In the previous slide, I had a company there called Isfahani. All of us who are from Bangladesh know Isfahani. We are proud of this company now, more than, I believe, 3 generations, if I'm not mistaken, in Bangladesh. Run one of the finest eye hospitals in Bangladesh. Nobody forced them to do this. Nobody gave them a tax break initially. I know Chairman NBR is in the room. Hopefully he will consider, sir. But they did it because they care and they love this country. So social responsibility was being done in Bangladesh before it was a word. Now, what are the next big things? We've all been talking about agro, but the one big thing I want to talk about is healthcare. If you look at how much money leaves this country, $5 billion officially that we know or we don't know, nobody knows the real number. And I'm so happy to hear that from China to other countries, people are being encouraged and incentivized to set up those facilities here. Look at that growth, $820 million just for medical equipment, make it in Bangladesh. This is the opportunity. Consumer electronics, we still have a tariff rate. Tariff is the word today for everybody. Almost 26% tax. It's a $1.65 billion market. We have local brands like Symphony who came in and started manufacturing phones, and now we have Samsung doing the same here. What's the next one? This is my favorite, skills. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not only a need, but it's a business opportunity. When you have 2 million people coming into the workforce, when you have one of the highest unemployed, educated youth forces in the world, we need to find ways to skill. And creating skills is business. Let's take some examples. Japan needs caregivers. I was having a conversation with a Brazilian company. They are one of the biggest producers of halal meat in the world. But sir, they have 30,000 factories where they are short of Maulanas because they can't certify it as halal. Why is this not an opportunity that we look at? How much longer do we just sending low skilled and unskilled? So skilling is a huge opportunity for us. Logistics. You look at the millions and the billions of dollars going into land ports, seaports, airport, facilities management. I would like to request the chief advisor and the advisors, please look at managed services. Let's look at how we make this logistics. We are paying a lot of money, taxpayers' money, sir, for the hardware. Where's the software to manage this? Can we bring in internationally reputed players to manage these facilities so that we are more competitive? And of course, beyond apparel, we've heard this above, beyond and beyond. I think with the 10x growth in the last 20 years, global competencies that we've already acquired, and we have an export culture and DNA. In July and August, our exports did not stop. This country is resilient, this economy is resilient, we find ways out. A lot of countries would not be able to cope the kind of shocks that we've gone through. We are moving towards higher value added. Bangladesh is now making boots for the FBI that export at $85 made in Chittagong. We need to be proud of this kind of product. We're exporting sleeping bags. We are not just apparel or even shoes or even ceramic. There's a lot more happening. We know this story, 34 million, that MAC population that we all talk about, but most important is the growth rate. If you look at the 12.3% growth rate on a compounded basis, that's where we're going at. It's a young population, much younger than our competition. It's digitally ready. We can see that there's a lot of digital readiness penetration. There are obvious cost savings, but this is where I'd like to take a little bit of time. And this is where we talk about the transformation of the economy. Of course, there are challenges. There is always a risk-reward ratio, and there is a premium that you factor in your pricing. These are the areas that we have been asking to do work. We are now seeing the government focus on each and every one of them, whether it's a global regulation and standardizing our standards, whether it's access to capital. We've been hearing about Orange Bond, for example, newer ways to finance, how to raise competitiveness, how to create a level playing field for everybody. And I know the Ministry of Commerce is working very hard with the National Board of Revenue to do this. And, of course, the stabilizing macro situation. We have gone through an extremely turbulent period in our economy, but we are seeing some green shoots, and we are seeing also specific actions. There's too much information on that slide, but online document submission before ships arrive, very low-hanging fruit. Should have been done long time ago, already done. Online payment. So in each and every one of these areas, whether it's, I want to thank the BIDA chairman for this. Trade licenses, why every year? Why do we need to have? Let's have it for 3 years, let's have it for 5 years. Already done. Long-term actions in terms of export diversification. Let's allow the bonded warehouse system beyond the RMG to other people. So why Bangladesh and why now? First, resilience is second nature. We are resilient as a culture, we're resilient as a nation, we have to find ways through. That's what we do. Whether it's natural disasters, whether it's man-made, whatever it is, whether it's the erosion of advantage, whether it's tariffs right now, we will have to find a way through. And I feel confident that working together, as we saw from the morning presentation, if the private sector and the government work together as we are doing now, and we continue to build that, we will find a way through. Location. We've heard about that extended market, and it's not just, I would say, the immediate neighborhood. We're talking about the Big B opportunity. According to the World Bank, the potential for increased growth in South Asia alone is $11 billion. So it's not just the Bangladesh market, it's way beyond that right now. I completely agree with Lutfe and with Ashik. Manufacturing is the story and must be the story, ladies and gentlemen. We have a population that is ready, that is willing to work in factories, that is not yet, if I may use the word, over-entitled, and they have the skills and they can be scaled. This is the sweet spot for the next 20 years, simply because of our age profile. And it's manufacturing across for export, for domestic, as well as for shared. The macroeconomic stability, we are seeing some very, very encouraging signs. The improved volumes of payments, the stabilized exchange rates, we are seeing rebuilding foreign reserves, and very important, inflation starting to trend down. This affects us everywhere, whether it's the domestic consumption story or the export story. And last but not least, most important for all investors, domestic end, is governance. And this focus on governance and 4 specific areas that we would like to appreciate. The judiciary system reform, we are seeing dedicated commercial courts come up so that the speed of resolution is faster. The public administrative reform, I think the idea that there has to be a service culture in public administration is taking hold. Financial sector reform, and of course, a zero tolerance on corruption. This is what foreign investors want to see. So, my concluding thoughts? Yes, we all know this number, right? There are more Bangladeshis than there are Vietnamese and Thais combined. But it's not just about the numbers. There are a few words in Bengali that do not translate. Man, Obhiman, and one of my favorite words is Shokhin. Sir, you can help me, but I don't know how to translate Shokhin. I believe it is people who like to buy things, who like to have nice things, not just buy, have nice things around them. We have a Shokhin culture. And this is the culture that's not just about consumption and materialism, it's also about appreciating what we have. So I would say to you, Bangladesh is investable, Bangladesh is invincible, and Bangladesh is in us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nasim Bhai, and my